Oh, cool. All right. Welcome. Another episode of Pels in the Blender. It's your boy A. Davis. I got Chris Connor with me again today. Appreciate you for coming through, bro. How everything going on your end?
Good, bro. I ain't got nothing to complain about, bro. Just happy to be here, pull up again, and support everything you're doing, bro.
Man, speaking of support, I appreciate you, bro. Like I see, kind of showing some love on the show, you know what I'm saying? And obviously coming through, hopping on pause. And you know what I'm saying? Even on Twitter, what X now, whatever you want to call it, bro. Whatever it is, man, you've been super supportive. I appreciate that, bro. Straight up.
Hey, man, this what it was about, bro. I was in your shoes, like at one point in time, bro. I was getting somebody. I was somebody else right now that's trying to get their name in the content world or just put out good stuff, bro. So I mean, it's just I like what you're doing, bro, and I want to however I could help and use a little platform I got to help, bro. You know we gonna lock it in.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Well, we'll go ahead and just kind of jump right into it. I ain't gonna,
Yeah.
hold up too much of your time. So over the past week, man, it's been a lot of talk, you know what I mean? And we kind of go through this every couple years. It feel like well, like either national media don't get it or somebody in the national media kind of take a shot at our Pels, you know what I'm saying? And not just the Pels when they do it, to be honest. It feel like they take a shot at the city. It feel like they take a shot at the fan base of not just the Pels, but like the Saints as well. And you know what I'm saying? And like we prideful people. You know what I'm saying? Ain't nobody gonna stand for that shit. So the thing about it though is there's a difference, and a lot of people have been defending it. And shout out to everybody, you know what I mean, in the content world that's been putting it out, standing up for New Orleans and everybody saying, look, it's the organization and not the people. If you give us great a great product, we'll support. So just on face value with that, like what's your initial thoughts when you hear all of that kind of going on?
Yeah, man. I mean, it really, like you say, it this feels like something that happens every few years. My initial thoughts is that it reminds me of a lot of what happened dating back to I think 2019, 2020. And for me, or maybe it was a little bit. I think it might have been 21, 22. It was right after. I think it was going into Zion's second year. It might have no, his third
Mm-hmm.
year. His third year. And the only reason I remember is because that's when, for me, like things kind of changed for me personally, and with
Mm-hmm.
spaces, and then eventually, Boo Crew, and some other things down the line. Because a lot of it started with, I remember the Zion Williamson media day where he came in with the broken foot, and
Yeah.
everybody was like, "Huh? Like, how?
What you
What?
mean?
Nobody? What you mean? What you mean you broke your foot?" And it went from him supposed to be ready for a certain period of time, and then you eventually don't see him the entire season. But that particular year was so trying because his media day was when I really got a chance to see how many people in the city, from the area, from the region, like really actually rock with the team. They just didn't, rock with basketball, rock with the Pelicans. They just didn't have anything to kind of latch on to. It felt like every time they found a team, they found a player, they found something, they found, an identity that was, worth their time, worth their investment, worth their money, something bad would happen. Or it would be another restart, or the player would leave, or things just wouldn't work out. And shortly after that is where you get a lot of the national media talking.
Mm-hmm.
It typically starts with us. Then it gets to the national media, and the national media kind of messes up the message because they ain't the people to really be speaking about it. So with Bill, it just reminded me of why I even really got into like the vocal, the like strongly into kind of getting people together and having these conversations, because it's not for somebody outside of the crib, outside of the house to really speak on, bro. Because there's so many things that are falsely said. There's like, Bill Simmons, for example, said things like, he mentioned this buzz of, the bro, ain't no buzz around the team. Like relocate. Ain't no real buzz. And
Gildon killed that multiple times.
Yeah, and it's taken away every time this happens. It takes away from the actual issue and the problem, which at the time I didn't really have the vision towards. You know what I mean? Now I know, like, look, this is just all a distraction. The focus needs to be on ownership and the organization really getting some true building blocks and some true consistency towards a good running organization and product that the people in the city have proven they will come up and support if they have reason to, which my dog 5 said went on a beautiful rant that got picked up in a few different areas about everything that we're talking about here.
Very eloquently he spoke on that too, I might add. Very factual, also historical, a lot of different perspectives. He kind of demolished Bill Simmons in my opinion. So, but you did mention a couple things that I really want to hint at, and part of it is, in my opinion, why people constantly attack us. You mentioned that, like, the fan base kind of wants to support, but then there's really nobody, in my opinion, to like also defend you in the national media when they do attack. There isn't any like for the Saints, and again, it took the Saints a long time to get this, but there is a Drew Brees, there is a Reggie Bush, somebody out there that's kind of like, we remember you for that particular team. You stand on business when it come to that team, and there were expectations when you were in the building to where you could be like, nah, this is not how we do that. This is how, you know what I mean? And for the Pelicans specifically, I think part of our issue is we don't have that person. How do we get the person to, and right now your face of the franchise is Zion, and you got people ready to run him out the city right now too. How can the Pelicans get that person to be here 10 years, 15 years, and have a reputation to where it stands beyond what it is that we're known for right now, and kind of combat some of them things that we're talking about, where we do get a little bit of grace.
Yeah, bro. I mean, you got to create some moments. You know what I mean? You got to create some moments with some familiar faces and some level of consistency to go along with it. You know what I'm saying? Like, unfortunately, I think of like Charlotte, for example, right? Because I was, I was thinking about some of the things that you mentioned, that we were going to talk about, and as you said, when you think of the Pelicans, the first thing you think of, it's not anything glowing. It's not anything positive, right? The best
Nothing
moments
tangible.
the best moments that I have are tied to bad moments. You know what I mean? The playoff series minus Boogie, the first round series win. AD's on his way out the next year. Boogie doesn't return. Rondo's gone. All of that's wiped out, and Drew's out shortly after that. Drew's best moments are in other places, right?
Mm-hmm.
Anthony Davis, his best moments, even though the best version of him as a basketball player was in New Orleans, his best moments in his career happened outside of New Orleans. Chris Paul, the best version of him as a player was in New Orleans, but it's not what he's remembered for. Obviously, he's back with the Clippers. People remember the Rockets days. People remember, they're remembering some of the things that he's done in regards to helping some of the best talents that we have in the league right now, and SGA and Wemby. And they're gonna remember those Clipper series. Lob City. So Baron Davis now it's to the point. B Diddy is more of a, you would associate him with Charlotte more than you would New Orleans. Same
Or
for
Golden
same for
State.
Mass or Golden State. So it's an association issue. Because I think I could think of some other franchises that have had superstars leave, or maybe they aren't that great, but they have they have those moments. They have at least they have an era of time. The Kings are horrible, but those people in that city, they have that Chris Webber, Vlade Divac, Pedro Stojakovic. Like Doug Christie's the coach right now.
Facts.
You know what I mean? Like but that comes from that particular pocket. I was thinking like, the first thing I could think about with Orlando, like it wasn't like Shaq or Dwight were in Orlando for very long periods. But that's what I think of. Penny didn't spend 10 years in Orlando, but I think about it. They didn't had multiple superstar leave, but we don't view it the same way as we view New Orleans, just because the memories aren't that great. You don't even have, you don't have a Western Conference Finals. You don't have, so to bring it back here to answer your question, bro, like it got to start with the moments, and people got to have something positive to remember. Like, man, when Zion had that 3-year stretch, nobody was better than him in basketball. When Trey Murphy got into his prime and the Pelicans went on that run to the Western Conference Finals, it was electric. That was really the birth of a basketball era. That, like, you need that, and you probably need somewhere between 3 to 5 years of something of that for people to, kind of like, you need an era. Grit and grind, Memphis. List goes on and on. Like, these all different places, big or small markets, they need something for people that either my age, people that's coming up right now, people a little bit older, to go back and say, yo, I remember that. That was a time. That team was more than just a flash in the pan of 1 year. They really had some shit going for 3, 4, 5 years.
I completely agree. And with that being said, it's kind of like you have an opportunity right now. Like, I feel like we're on the cusp of either repeating the cycle that we always repeat, or we're on the cusp of finally breaking through and getting to those moments you were just talking about. Because, like, historically, when you look at what the Pelicans do, and this goes back to, like you said, this goes back to Chris Paul. And I don't know exactly what this is, and maybe you've been a little more tapped in inside to kind of maybe know, but like back then with Chris Paul, and it's a sign of being cheap, but you have David West, Chris Paul, Tyson Chandler. You got the Crescent City connection. You starting to build, when people start giving your stuff a nickname, you know what I mean? You got something going, and then you have Peja and all of that. And they have the 2 playoff runs. Honestly, that's the 2 most successful run, like back-to-back seasons in history since we got the team back. And what do they do immediately? Okay, we don't keep Tyson Chandler. And then, you kind of blow that team up, and you still got Chris for a couple years, but it's not really the same as, like, they had an opportunity and then they don't build on that. Okay, so now you ship Chris. And that's how the NBA wants to keep basketball in New Orleans. So if we're going to say Dallas got the number 1 pick off of them showing them love for trading Luka to LA, you think Anthony Davis ending up in New Orleans at that time was just, a fluke? Like, I think when we got AD, I don't think we had like the best overall odds to land AD.
Charlotte did, ironically, when they
right?
were the Bobcats.
So, yep. So 2 times we landed number 1 pick again. So we go through the AD era. I look at the AD era. Monty's here, right? And you can say whatever you want, how you feel about Monty's coaching, but they were progressing. AD had to figure out the injuries and stuff like that. That young team got to the playoffs against the Warriors in that first round series when Steph went to going crazy in the fourth, you know what I mean? The corner 3 falling down, all of that, which started their run. But again, you finally got some traction, and they immediately fire Monty, bring in, and maybe they thought it was a good move to bring in Alvin Gentry at the time, but you fire Monty and you kind of hit the reset on what it was you're going against. So now you need a couple more years. Then you finally bring in Boogie and Rondo, and you get that little stretch where the fan base finally was like, oh, we got some stars. Like, we really got some some power. If you, Brian, you've been on social media lately, those clips of that team been running all over the place, and you only had it for one season for whatever. Why would you think not to bring back Rondo? Even if you're not going to bring back Boogie, why not bring back Rondo? That's crazy. So they blow that up. And of course, AD, like, get me out of here. You know what I mean? Like, what would you do? They get rid of AD. Guess what? You blessed again. You get Zion. And now we're at the same point with Zion. And again, he's been through some injuries and stuff. But Joe Dumars finally has an opportunity where, okay, they kind of did the opposite of what we typically do. You know what? We're not gonna rebuild. We're gonna lean more into it. Like, Zion is the face of the franchise. Like, I think we're finally at a position where, and it could go either way. Like, I don't know if Willie Green is the make or break, but it feels like we're on the cusp of, with Trey at the point of his evolution, where we might be able to see some of the best years of Trey. They didn't trade Herb. They extended Herb. They, instead of, man, like, you know what, we're gonna be bad. You know what? No, we're going all in. We getting 2 lottery picks. Like, it feels like they're trying to deviate from what it is they've historically done, but I'm not so sure if that's the case. What do you think? And, like, where do we stand on literally this moment in time?
Yeah, man. I mean, I think that with so much falling on the shoulders, or it feels like, of Zion, I think what gets lost in that is some of the other surrounding pieces. Like, David West, for example, when he was a Hornet, if he doesn't, I believe, tear his ACL at the end of his last season as in New Orleans, maybe that situation looks a little bit different. Maybe he never gets to, eventually becoming an Indiana Pacer. Maybe you get him a little bit longer than you did. So, like, the surrounding players, for example, Trey Murphy, Herb Jones, those guys are important as well, because those players, it just, like, you need those. The stars get so much hate and so much attention, so much criticism or praise. Like, it takes years to really, sometimes 5-10 years to really kind of have the right perspective on said player. AD's you slowly get into a point to where people in the city are like, okay, AD, I kind of understand. But think about how long that took, right? When CP first left, CP was getting booed a few years ago.
CP got booed last season.
Yeah. But he ain't the only one that wanted to get out of New Orleans, or wanted to go to a different place, or wanted to play around better talent that talked about it. Drew ain't gonna never get that treatment. People want to believe it or not, Drew did ask for a trade, but he did it in a way that would make everyone happy. He did it in a silent way, and everybody like, yeah, good for you, Drew. Go on to better things. You know what I'm saying? So, I mean, part of this is on the responsibility of others, but when you talk about where the franchise is now, those surrounding pieces being here now 4 years. Like, I think, bro, the goal for the franchise has been in New Orleans for 25 years, whatever it is now, or 24 years, I think, now, being in New Orleans. You got to get players you got to find a way to have players be on your roster longer than 6 years. That seems to be the magic number. It's 6 years. Every 6 years, you on to a whole new setup. Chris Paul was in New Orleans for 6 years. AD was in for 7. But David West, I think, made it to 8. But most wouldn't remember that. Tyson Chandler was, I think, in New Orleans for about 4 years. Pager was in New Orleans for, I think, about 5 years. Well, Zion's going into, I think, his 5th year. Herb's going into year 4. Trey's going into year 4. Jose's going into year 4. We'll see what some of these players are at. But once you start getting into 5 years, 6 years, like these players become, you only remember them as Pelicans at certain points because you have no choice. So I think what Joe's trying to do partially is, like you mentioned, in regards to keeping things together, you got to bring a product and faces that people are familiar with. You know what I'm saying? Like it's very important. Like those faces sell to what even people that don't watch a product know. Bro, I keep seeing this guy. I've been seeing him from years. Who is that? Oh, that's Trey Murphy. Oh, he's been here for since 2019. Oh, really? Oh, okay. Just pieces of people that are a part of the city. The Saints were able to do that eventually. The Saints did that decades ago, even when the team wasn't as good. You know what I'm saying? So, but it takes some luck as well. Everything in regards to how the organization is viewed once you end up getting Drew Brees. Once you end up getting Drew Brees and Sean Payton. You know what I'm saying? Like all of that ultimately ends up like you do need some things to fall in your lap as well to be able to take advantage of it. But you know, and maybe this is the year where a lot of that ends up starting for New Orleans. You know what I'm saying? Maybe this is the year where that ultimately ends up changing. But you know, I think the problem here, A. Davis, is that when people look at this organization inside and out, they really worry and wonder about ownership. They really worry and wonder about how much does ownership actually want to win basketball games. And are they going to be in a situation where are they waiting for them, you know, the team to ultimately do something that forces them to say, I guess we got to put our money and all of our resources behind it now? Are they waiting to be embarrassed again? Which a lot of people felt like ultimately happened before Zion came, where you finally get your own medical staff. And a lot of separation is starting to happen inside the buildings in regards to front office people and executives. And you're not having people spending their time between both the Saints and the Pelicans. You're actually running the Pelicans as its own entity in business. That needs to happen. That you still need to work on that as well. So in a lot of ways, you could say that ownership is waiting, or certain parts of ownership are waiting on the same thing that people in the city are waiting on. Okay, let this team give me a reason to fully invest more, and I will. But when you have, I think 20 plus years of this inconsistency that keeps happening to where you can't maintain a 3-year, like you can't put together a 3-year run, you can't put together an even 2-year run, and the same things keep happening. I mean, it's like, bro, it's like, and I know people like to say injuries, bro, but look, it's almost like if you got a friend, right? Let's say you got a partner that you've known for 20 plus years, and bad things always happen to him.
At some point, it's you.
At some point, you gonna say is you.
Yeah.
When you talking with like when you talking to your lady, or you know what I mean, you talking to one of your other homies trying to see like, yo, how can we help this motherfucker? Like at some point he got to look in the mirror, right? Because nobody want to hear.
That chick that's 40 years old, still single.
Yeah,
you like, ain't nobody wiped you up yet.
Yeah, not even by accident. You ain't had that. At some point, people looking at you. So when George Shin was here, George Shin was cheap. Okay. Is I don't know how much Gail is as cheap as just not involved and got people running things for her that have other things, the Saints, that are a little bit more important. You know what I'm saying? So
absolutely.
You know, I mean, look, bro, I mean, again, I think for it all to work, it could be one thing or another that ultimately pushes this thing in the right direction. But a lot of different places and pieces and people need to be held accountable, I think, at once. What we got to focus on is that it's just certain people that ain't allowed to talk about it no more. And the Bill Simmonses, the Stephen A. Smiths, the Kendrick Perkins, and so on, like all those different people, they not around it. They not the people to talk about it, man, because like the city has shown you, they shown everybody what it can and will look like. The community did when we did spaces, forever ago. Find out that we got Pelicans fans in Colombia, and shout out to Colombia and Australia. Shout out to Lyle and company. Like all these different people, all across the city, all across the country, outside of the country. There's a real like support for basketball and for a good product and for the Pelicans. But the organization, whoever you want to blame, down to the players, got to get their shit together, and the people will be there.
I 1000% agree with that. You had a couple of things I kind of want to segue to. First one, in the most recent, you mentioned the national media for a second, and I don't want to miss this opportunity to take a shit on some other organizations, respectfully, kind of, not really. So if it would be one thing, like you said, if when national media came and spoke and was like, hey, the ownership group isn't doing a good job, those fans deserve a winning product, they should sell the team. Like you seen Stephen A. Smith do multiple times with James Dolan and the Knicks, because he supports that team. He ain't never said move the Knicks out of New York. It's been multiple times, just sell the team, right? The Commanders, when they were the Redskins, they were bad for all that stretch. Dan Snyder is a terrible owner. Sell the team. Never once were they saying you need to relocate the city. Also to like kind of build on that, the NBA, bro, you seen how successful the Super Bowl was? All of these people talking about all of these stars and national media saying, man, oh my gosh, I love New Orleans. I wish I could move to New Orleans. Like, ain't no place like New Orleans. All-star games come here, the parties, we don't close. And man, if New Orleans can put a consistent product on, you saw when Zion got drafted, we was on TV almost as much as any other team. Between when they had Zion and Lonzo and BI, they thought we was gonna be on to something. And then they, it didn't work out. And then, it's like, all right, we kind of got to back off them a little bit. But the NBA specifically is dying for New Orleans to put together a product so they can say, okay, bro, y'all have one of our most popular stars. Like Zion comeback games, the team be 20 games under 500, and they still like Zion come back this week, like put him on TV. And obviously, he goes, he had the 360 windmill they showing in commercials and stuff like that. So New Orleans specifically isn't the issue. So another thing I kind of want to hit at real quick, because we talking about like success and like the windows and stuff like that, and how national media, in my opinion, is hypocrites. And I think it was Lito that kind of touched on this, pause a little bit. These are the teams, bro, worse than us, in my opinion. I had stretches worse than us. So like we've made the playoffs, I think it was 4 times total. No, AD made it twice, CP made it twice, and Zion, not Zion specifically, but we've made it 6 times, you know what I mean, recently, right? Bruh, the Hornets made the playoffs 3 times since 2005. I ain't never hear nobody say anything about moving them. The last time they made the playoffs was in 2016. They lost in the first round. So they're going on a decade, not even reaching the playoffs.
In the East,
bro, you need 38 wins. You need to be 38 wins, and you can make the play-in and get into the playoffs in the East. Hold on. The Knicks, before Thibodeau got there, right? Before Thibodeau got there, that was in 21. They went from 02 to 20, made the playoffs 4 times, and only won 1 series. So you telling me the mighty New York Knicks with all that money and everybody want to be there went 18 years and only went to the playoffs 1 time? But we talking about the Pelicans. What? Like, I got a couple more. Hold on. I'm sorry. I got to get like the Cavs. The Cavs, when LeBron James, who arguably the second greatest player on the, you know what I mean, almost ever to play basketball, that's arguable, whatever. It's another conversation for another day. But until Donovan Mitchell got there, if LeBron wasn't there, they have never made the playoffs. Like since 99. Like, that's insane. The Kings, come on, man. Come on, bro. The Kings, from 06 to 25, one playoff appearance. I ain't never hear nobody say, get the Kings out of Sacramento. And the last two I got, the Suns had a stretch from 2010 to 2020, no playoffs, nothing like that. I ain't never hear nobody say move them. And many from 05 to 21, and that's when they got Ant, essentially. One playoff appearance and one first round loss. So, like, not to just beat that down for a second, but like, we've seen multiple franchises go on extended losing streaks. And I'm talking about decades of losing. Like, no historical, like the Bulls been bad, but you know, it's the Bulls. Like, I get it. But those teams, they don't have no real relevance like that. So why are you picking on our team? That's the if you want to jump in right there, go ahead.
So, you know, it's the low-hanging fruit. You know what I mean? It's the easiest thing to search for and speak about that others will agree with and maybe not interject against. You know what I'm saying? And I think that's one reason why New Orleans is always brought up when it comes to basketball. You know, you hear, you know, even the players, dog, like, you know, Boogie. It pisses me off, you know, hearing even him say things like, you know, I was there, it was in New Orleans, didn't people care about the Saints? We was trying to change it. What, in a year? In less than a year? Y'all didn't play a full season's worth of games together.
Thanks.
Between the time Boogie arrived and ultimately left. How was you gonna change that, dog? The Saints been in New Orleans since, was it 68?
50 years.
Yeah.
50 plus years.
You comparing that to a Pelicans team that's been there since 02, 03? That's the comparison. Now, okay, cool. You want to go to Memphis. Let's say Memphis, they got there from Vancouver, I think, around that same time. They have errors, pockets, and they still ain't great with attendance, even when the team is good. But they've had some consistency and they've done a good job. Their ownership has done a good job of bringing things that different from people of all ages will be able to remember. This generation is going to remember this version of Ja, for better, for worse, and Jaren Jackson and Desmond Bain. They'll remember it. The one before has grit and grind. Like, and then, you know, whatever is leaning towards the end of Pau Gasol leaving when they first got to Memphis. But like, they have that. Unfortunately, outside of us diehards that count, you know, these one seasons every, you know, sprinkled in every now and then, the Pelicans don't really have it. But comparing it, it's just such a cop out to say, well, you know, it's a football town. No, it ain't. No, it ain't. They've had this product for over 50 years, and now, like, you know, we got this recency bias of, like, you want to go to the end of the 1990s before the Saints finally won a playoff game. You want to remember what that was actually like?
Bag overhead.
Because I was there. I lived there. I had best friends that say they was Cowboy fans, 49ers fans. My godmother was a 49er fan. Said, I ain't watching them sorry Saints. Even when they got good, they was still the sorry Saints. I remember that. I lived there.
Lil Wayne, outright Packers fan.
Outright Packers fan. Do people not remember this? I got a homie I used to play Xbox with from Uptown, bro, a Jaguars fan. Another homie that another brother that I met. Don't live that far away from him. He a Jaguars fan. He a Jaguars fan and a Saints fan. How that work? So I mean, people overcomplicate this, though. You know, like, it remind me of like when people from other places talk about crime and they don't understand the full the full inner workings and the politics behind it all. All they see is the crime element. They say, "Oh, okay, it's bad over there." Well, really not understanding why. Like, okay, cool. Like the numbers are what they are. What you telling me might be factual. When it comes to this team and this franchise, they have not been successful. They do have things they need to fix. Ownership definitely needs to make some changes. The front, there's been bad decisions or bad optics towards decisions since the beginning. It's been injuries and all these other stuff. But what that got to do with the people? None of that has to do with the people of the city. You know what I'm saying? And that's the thing with me. And that's what, when the Kendrick Perkins Twitter Spaces and all them different things and that stress, and even like today what's still going on with Rocky and Faloran and Charles and company and everybody, you know, it's like, bro, keep it away from the people. Stop saying that it seemed like it's something that they're not really interested in being a part of. With fives, going back to five, mentioning the viewership of basketball, of NBA basketball, period, or basketball in totality, how high it is as a market, for a market that's so small. You mean to tell me them people don't care about basketball? Or they want something to actually support the same fucking way they felt about the Saints not too long ago? You know what I'm saying? To where they had to wait until the late 80s, early 90s to finally have some kind of success, and then not see it again for another 10 years, and then not see it again until another 5 or 6 years after that. And then you get you get the best stretch, the golden era of Saints football in New Orleans. The Pelicans have something like that, and we will be talking a little bit differently about what needs to happen, or what you know, the person in the goddamn city really thinks about basketball. And it ain't that orange ball, bro. It ain't about that. These people love this the same way that they love that damn pigskin. Ain't about that. It's a different attachment. It's a longer attachment, and it's been a better invested in product. It changes ultimately, which it can. The people will be there, and it will change too. Ain't that complicated?
Facts. So we were talking about moments that make, like, you know how you have moments that kind of take the era and you be like, oh, this was the first moment, and then it kind of builds from there. I think Zion in that play-in game against the Lakers was in the midst of having his moment. Be leading the comeback, you in the blender, you going for 40. You know what I mean? They gonna win that game, right? You win that game. You not the 8 seed. You not saying you win. Who would they have played? Denver, maybe. I think Denver was the 2 seed that year, if I'm not mistaken. It was either Denver or Minnie, one of the two.
If they win that game, I believe they play Denver. Yeah, they
because
play Denver.
Lakers get destroyed. Now listen, I don't think we beat them, but you know how Zion get to going against Denver. Like, they don't have no answers. I give myself a chance, but you are on the brink in that moment of, hey, bro, we've seen this dude. Like, it was one time, but you see him be the best player on the floor with LeBron James and Anthony Davis on the floor at the same time, unfortunately, with Willie Green coaching. So my thought is, I think Joe Dumars, and this is where, man, this is hope. You know what I mean? This is hope that we leaning on right here. And hopefully Joe's track record, and I kind of like spoke on this in a couple shows previously, but Joe Dumars has been successful. Like, as a player was successful, as a executive was successful. Even if you're gonna criticize the last couple years that he had in Detroit, bro, that's still after almost 10 years of, you know, extensive success. They were living off that success in Detroit for a long time. So give me 10 years and give me 2 finals appearances, 1 finals, and 6 straight Western Conference, you know, finals appearances, or whatever, you know, it was. You know how many playoff series those dudes won? So I think Joe is coming in, and this is where I give Joe a little bit more credit than I gave David Griffin. because I think Gail, we talked about the type of ownership. I think Gail is a delegating owner. Like, I want to show up, watch my team. I want to pay my money and watch my team. Like, if I have something broke in the house, I'm gonna pay somebody to come fix it. I might not watch them fix it or nothing like that, but I'm paying you to do your job. Like, and when I'm finished, when you finish, I want it to work. Like, I don't want to have to keep going back and, hey man, you missed this, or hey, you didn't do that right. Like, I ain't paid my money for that. So I think when she hired David Griffin, and remember David Griffin came highly recommended, right? I think David Griffin was in over his head. And you started seeing it because he was constantly like playing the middle. You know what I mean? Never really in, never really out, always too late. It goes to show what Brian really was pushing the buttons and like, hey man, go make this move. Clutch was really in effect back then. And Zion not knowing enough of the game, Brandon don't know enough of the game to be like, this dude don't really know what he's talking about. But you could see that David was over his head because they didn't respect that dude. They didn't respect him. You know what I mean? I think Joe coming in, pause. But that's a little wild. That's crazy. I'm sorry. That's crazy. Excuse me. But I think Joe in this opportunity right now, leaning into like the pieces here, you could tell that like even he didn't got rid of like 6 players off the roster already. You know what I mean? I think Joe in this moment is, and I wish he fired Willie, and then we'll really be like, oh yeah, he really trying to, go for it. But I'm going on hope that Joe is willing to take the experience and really go forward, because everybody say Gail wants to win, Gail willing to spend the money. All right, Joe not afraid to make moves, make trades, F the picks, you know what I mean, and do what he has to do. Do you think that this particular moment, like, are we actually in the moment where we get the stretch of like Zion has been here, like you said, was 6 years now. Well, if Zion signs another extension, or well, I ain't gonna say he necessarily got to sign it. You still got 3 years on the deal right now. But Zion is really close, and his era can really change over the next year or two if Joe does what he wants to do, and then you have some luck with Trey and like the pieces are there. What do you think about the points that we are in right now and what it could look like from this year on, I guess, moving forward?
So one of the things that Joe kept talking about when he drafted Fears and traded for Queen, traded to draft Queen was foundational pieces. Kept talking about foundation. He thought that both of those guys were foundational pieces. And you got to think, when we typically think about foundational pieces in New Orleans, it's been Chris Paul. It's been Zion Williamson. It was Baron Davis. It was Jamal Mashburn. It was that group. Eventually, it was Boogie for a year. But when we talk about drafted guys, you only got a couple, 3. You got CP, you got AD, and you got Zion. So the Zion thing's kind of like, we'll see how that goes. But in the midst of all that, you look and you say, okay, Trey's in his extension. We got him for a few more years. He was already been here going into his 4th year. We just locked him up to another extension. We'll see what happens with the other elder statesman on the team in Jose. But now you drafted 2 lottery picks, and you can look at it and say, okay, between this group that I have, 2 to 3 of these guys, or at least two, should be should be players that I should be able to put my franchises on their shoulders.
Yep.
So at this point, you grasping for you giving yourself as many opportunities as possible to find that mix, to find that foundation, to where the players give you a little bit less to have to worry about. And part of the thing, and I give David Griffin a little bit of bail, just a little bit, but that also goes to your point of him being over his head, was that the players didn't always do that for him. Some of that is part of his decision making and some of the decisions that he ultimately made, because it's a domino effect. If the coach ain't believable enough, if the coach ain't good enough, then the players may not look as consistent or as enthused or engaged or as focused or as good as you want them to look, no matter what kind of roster you think you put together. On top of the fact, if they're not healthy and they're not playing games, I think similar to Dell Demps, 5 to 7 years from now, we're gonna look at David Griffin a little bit different than we looked at, because when Dell Demps, it's gonna change. It always does. Yeah. But I do also agree that Griff was trying to wear too many hats at once. He was trying to do too many things. He was moving around. I gotta be here. I gotta talk here. I gotta be PR. I gotta do marketing. I gotta build the team. I gotta give advice on what players should play. If a rookie ain't playing, I need to know why. I need to be a part of certain games and doing halftime interviews. I need to do this. I need to do that. And I need to be a part of making sure we got the best roster. I got to be everywhere. That wasn't
don't work like that,
obviously. And it didn't work. He didn't get some of the luck that maybe he needed for that ultimately to fall through. And trying to build relationships. And the building relationship element was a big part of it, was what he missed. Or he did not know how to do. What is Joe doing right now? Trying to build relationships with these people. Because that's a lot of times that's what this shit is all about. Building relationships with these people that you bring in the building. You are responsible for hiring, for giving jobs to. So, I think ultimately the point that you're at right now is that, you're kind of at a crossroads, but you got to out. You got a gangway you could take. You know what I mean? You would hope, he's hoping right now, man, if Zion figures this shit out and he comes anywhere close to the player that we think, well, that takes care of a lot of other things. It makes everyone's life a lot easier. If he doesn't, okay, does Trey Murphy have another step that he can take as being a guy? I know what Herb's going to bring. And then I drafted 2 dudes that I 100% believe can either A, hit the ground running, or B, 3 to 4 years from now can be carrying this franchise. And that's what's been missing ultimately, man. I mean, it hasn't been enough homegrown Pelicans talent, enough homegrown Hornets talent. They typically trade it away, or they leave, or they trade the draft pick, or the draft pick ain't good, or the player, Julian Wright was a lottery pick, didn't work. Didn't see a second contract. Cedric Simmons was a lottery pick. It didn't work. I think Hilton Armstrong was a lottery pick, or right outside the lottery. Ultimately, didn't work. The list goes on. That the previous the guys who came from Charlotte, they came from Charlotte. They weren't homegrown. They weren't drafted by New Orleans. So David West towards the end, but Tyson Chandler was traded for. This is the first stretch and era, I think, A. Davis, and to answer your question, completely. The point that we're at right now is that this is the first stretch of the Pelicans as a franchise having the most talented homegrown talents that they have had. This is the most true. Not guys that they traded for, people that they have drafted to New Orleans. You got Zion, Trey, Herb. If you want to throw Jose in there for right now, you can.
I'm counting Jose.
You can count Jose. You got Misi. You have Fears, Queen. You want to throw Carlo in there, whoever. You look up and down this roster.
Count 2, technically.
Hawkins, that's another one. Hawkins, you look up and down this roster, all these guys, they not coming from, a good majority of them did not come from other places. They were brought here. And now the years are piling up. That's the point that you're at right now. You're trying to build a foundation, but you're doing it with not other parts. You're not going to a used car shop to put on this car. You're not going to a junkyard to grab from stuff to fit. Like, you do that when you're putting on the finishing pieces of this junk. This is homegrown. And I think when you are a small market, when you're trying to build something for a community, when you're trying to build something for a city, when you're trying to build something that relates, you're trying to build something where people actually care about the fabric of it, that's also very important, because outside of a few different instances, Memphis kind of being the outlier, with them trading for both Marc Gasol and Zach Randolph and Tony Allen signing there as a free agent, I believe. Outside of that, most small markets that are trying to build something, they have to do it from within. So that's the point that we're at. And now you just gonna have to find a direction from there. But you should probably have the pieces. We don't know what combination is ultimately gonna fit, but you got about 5 to 6 players that's gonna be able to decide it, and you are the ones that like, you are in control of it now. And I think, from there, the car might drive itself.
Let me give Gail, because as you, bro, and this is why I enjoy the dialogue with you, because like when you're making your points, it kind of like a light bulb goes off of something I might not have thought of. And let me give Gail a little bit of love in this aspect. So you mentioned how, the homegrown talent, right? Everybody gets to a point, because when you get drafted to a place, you know what everybody's thinking when they get drafted to a place? I want to be there my whole career. I want to win there. I want to be successful. I don't want to say everybody, but like majority, like obviously, some of those players like get them like, shit, I'm going to do my time and then I'm going to LA or whatever. Obviously. But for the most part, a lot of players get drafted and be like, man, I really want to, if you play 2K, sometimes you put yourself on the worst team on 2K and you be like, man, I'm going to change the franchise. You know what I mean? We going to win the chip, blah, blah, blah. I think when those dudes that really play at that level do that, I think they have the same feeling. Like Trey Murphy has seen what success could look like in New Orleans. Like, I think CJ wanted to come here because he got his ass, destroyed in that round and saw what the blender looked like when it was packed. Remember, he first got there, he was caught, man, it's the crib. It go crazy in the crib. Like, he knew what it could look like when you win it. So this is why I kind of want to give Gail some love. When these guys are at like their second extension, because everybody take the rookie extension money, right? But they're at the point where you heard Trey don't have a great relationship with Willie, and possibly don't have a great relationship with Griff. Herb just, Herb, whatever. Zion don't have a great relationship. Most of the homegrown talent that you see like are having friction now with the front office and the upper echelon. And Gail, like, she probably coming in like, bro, why is Trey Murphy calling me talking about what's going on with Griff? Like, you know what I mean? Like, why is Zion like, you know how it is? Like, if you call, let's say you got a brother or something, you keep calling your mama while she at work, and she be like, bro, why y'all calling me when I'm at work? Like, I'm pretty sure Griffin, kind of got the eggs, because part of it was like, you're not even doing the one thing you supposed to do and make sure this thing, don't reach me at this point, right? Also, you want to be successful, obviously. So I think Gail getting rid of Griffin when she did, kind of before you completely lose Zion, because Zion has never outwardly requested a trade. Trey Murphy was like, I ain't signing an extension. Like, you didn't have your two best players, essentially. BI, whatever they say, BI turned down 50 mil. Like, just still bad business by him, but he did turn down 50 mil or whatever. Anyways, like, Joe Dumars coming in right now and reestablishing those relationships, right, gives you an opportunity to be able to see these particular players kind of like reach the, okay, we really got a shot now. Like, somebody kind of understands where we at and gonna give us the tools to do what we need to do. And like, maybe Joe came in and be like, hey, bro, look, I know y'all on fool with Willie. Give me a season. Y'all go out there, do y'all part. Give me something to believe in, and I got you on. You know what I'm saying? I got you on the back end. Just make me a believer. That's the first thing about him. I also want to say one more thing about the players, and then I'll let you respond, and we'll get out of here. Um, you saw Jeremiah Fizz, like you talking about Jeremiah Fizz and Queen, and when you drafted those two players, you see they come in with the like Jeremiah Fizz sounds like a franchise player, like from his interviews and stuff like that. Like he sounds like he wants to be the guy. Like, I'm not here waiting on nobody. I'm work hard. I'm trying, like, he looks like he's trying to get on the floor. And I don't care if DeJounte or Jordan Poole right there. I'm trying to go get the spot. And you want that from a guy that, you know, you drafted here. Queen, I'm gonna be better than all those dudes. You know what I mean? Like that fits the mold of New Orleans. Also, Fears, if you watching the TikToks and the videos, the tag across the chest, like he feels like somebody that looks like New Orleans. Like you need people to be visual in this particular city. Like you don't see Zion at all. Like you rarely see Trey at all. Like the thing about being here.
It's the reason you don't see Zion. And I'm gonna tell you, it's the reason. Go ahead.
Okay, I'm gonna cut it off there. But like that's that's key. Being able to have people visual. We was talking about like people that represent the city. Like you need somebody face look like that the franchise can represent, like that can represent the franchise on a national scale, and when like play style too. That's why Joe talking about creating a toughness that they play with and stuff like that. All of that ties in and matters. And you know, that'll be the last thing I let you, you know, kind of comment and roll with or have on that. And but that's my thing, man. You have to have somebody come in with the culture, because this place is all about culture, attitude, the look, being visual. You know what I'm saying? All of those things matter when you're trying to take this franchise and change all of the things that people say about it from a national media perspective, and like with the local fans thing, because like more than anything, we want a style of play and players that fit us. What you think?
I think that people like to spend their time investing in things that they can relate to. And I think what you're saying goes in that category. You know, uh people that saw Drew Brees in a lot of different places, a bunch of Saints players in a lot of different places. Some places they ain't had no business being in. But part of the
You didn't
the
see
other
Bush
side,
at Metro.
you know, hey, you know, look, man, the other side to that coin is that New Orleans is a place that don't really bother they stars or they celebrities. It allows you to be of that. So if you aren't visible and you have a certain responsibility, it's almost like
He too
what?
good for us?
Yeah, for us? Won't he bother nobody?
Nah.
You know what I mean? You know, so I mean, I think that Fears visible. Queen is gonna be visible. I think all the things that you mentioned about, like, you know, you gotta have somebody as well that wants to change, you know, the notion. That wants to change the perception. That wants to change
Let me cut you off real quick.
Go ahead. Go ahead.
I'm sorry. You talk about visible. Boogie, the 1 year he was hit, like 1 year and a half, he had AD all out in the streets. Like, man, we outside. Like,
because he
bro, you
knew.
been here.
He
Yeah.
knew. He understood it. You know, he understood. So that's very important. You know what I'm saying? That don't mean that you can't just, you know, that you can't be yourself. I would expect to see Drew Holiday no different way or no different place. But Drew had a different way of showing up. Drew looked after the community the same way CJ did. You know what I mean? Drew showed up with his pockets. You know what I'm saying? Drew showed up for the kids. Drew showed up in a whole different way, which you had, like, you couldn't do anything but respect it. Everybody just ain't the I'm constantly gonna be in the streets type of dude, which is cool. You know what I'm saying?
You need that too. You need Drew and CJ.
but you need that balance. You need that balance, and I think you got you brought in two dudes that are going to be visible in different ways, but have an edge to them that says, I want to change and I don't care what happened before me. And the important part is that you didn't just bring in one, you brought in two. So like you brought in a duo of these type of dudes that's both like, yo, I don't care who was here before us. I don't care who here now. Like it might take a year, it might take 2 years, it might be tomorrow, but it's ours, right? We gonna change this whole thing
Queen
around.
probably like Zion, go out if you want. Be my franchise. You get her for 50 games while I'm here.
Yeah, so I think that matters, and that's why what Trey does is as important as it is, right? He's everywhere. He's once again a face that everyone recognizes. You got to be known for something, dog. You know what I mean? The way people probably ain't gonna see Herb nowhere but on a boat, or in a gym somewhere, but they know when they go see him, they're gonna get their money's worth. Because every single game, he's consistent and he's something that you can rely on. You know that dude, if you just know him by the number, son, I never forget. I took my girl from Chicago, and she's like full Pelicans fan now. I never forget. We went to go watch a game in that rookie season. No, we watching on TV. And she was watching, she said, I don't know who number 5 is, but he need to play more. I said, you don't know number 5 who? She said, on the Pelican. Said, you talking about Herb Jones? Yeah, whatever his name is, he need to be out there. He need to be out there all the time, because I watch him and he playing hard. He ain't playing like everybody else. You know what I'm saying? That stands for itself. If somebody who don't invest as much time in basketball or is new to the Pelicans can see that, then imagine what we can see. Imagine what the people that's actually paying their money consistently can see. So Herb is Herb, man. But yeah, bro, I mean, I think you hit it on the nail, bro. I mean, it's a mixture of things that you need, especially when you got questions about the commitment from people that's pulling the strings and putting the financial commitments and building the resources around you. Like, once again, the grit, like fucking Marcus Saul was riding around listening to Project Pat. He became Memphis. Zebo, like, I'm from up the street. You know what I mean? Like, I got connections and ties here already. This home to me. Same with Tony Allen. Tony Allen, like, yo, y'all 7 hours away. Like, this home, we gonna build something here that connects with the city. And I think you got enough people, enough players, different personalities, mixtures, mindsets, and talents that could all make that happen. Because unfortunately, as we close, Alvin, I still think they have to be able to persevere in spite of some things that are in front of them. There's some challenges from I believe their head coach, and from I believe people that some front office figures that are going to get in their way from time to time. So they still got to make this shit happen in spite of. But maybe if some of the things on the basketball floor starts to improve and you start to see them really building something, maybe that takes care of some of the other things around, from coaching to, ownership handlers, whoever it is you think is holding them back. But I do believe that for the first time in a while, you got the right group of guys, ideally, to help put a stamp on a new era that expands beyond just Louisiana.
I 1000% agree with you, man. So look, I appreciate you, Chris, for coming through, bro. Showing love, you know what I mean? And again, hopefully we get you back on again, because, bro, I really enjoyed the dialogue and the conversation and everything. We didn't really discuss too much like legitimate basketball things, but I think with everything that's been going on this week, this particular type of episode was needed, where you kind of discuss the history of where we've been, why it's kind of been like that. But also, bro, you gotta give hope, because like if we like, and a lot of people give y'all, you know what I mean, kind of been critical of y'all for being negative. It's not being negative, bro. You gotta call a spade a spade. like like I don't like certain things we gotta lie about. You know what I mean? Like when they talk shit about us, yeah, we gonna lie. Don't talk about what we got going on in the house. But if we, in order for us to fix some things, you gotta be honest about where you at. You know what I mean? So I appreciate y'all for doing that. You know what I mean? I try my best to do it too. And man, I just really appreciate you for coming through, bro, showing love, and you know, lending not just, you know what I mean, your voice, but your platform as well, helping me out, bro. I really appreciate it. That's people looking out for each other. Much love.
Same, bro. You know, it's just, you know, I said it, you know, forever ago when I started really like getting more involved in podcasting and putting out more content. That I was always gonna help, especially people from the city, bro. I was it just it, it's what I wanted when I was starting, bro. So it's nothing for me to, you know, come on the show, bro. And I think, you know, like I told you last time, whenever if we can make something work, you know, I'm more than sure throughout the season, you know, I can be on and we can,
I'm
you
going
know,
crazy during
we
the
can
season, bro.
we can
I'm
we
going
can
crazy during the
we can
season.
chop it up, bro, because you know what I mean, for real, bro. And I hope everybody that's listening, you know, can see if it's their first time here, bro. Like Alvin ain't just a like a fan, bro. Like he does his research, he puts time into these topics, he puts time into a lot of these different things. And you know, like, you just know when you listen to somebody that's too emotionally involved or just, you know, kind of need the curtain peeled back a little bit. You know,
Mm-hmm.
you keep it a little bit balanced, bro, but you also know what you're talking about and you really care about this franchise, this team, and the city, bro. And I think, you know, you need that mixture when you having
Yeah.
people that, you know, that wants to, because if you wasn't, I don't know if I'd be, you know, up here, bro. But
Nah.
I'm gonna support you, bro. You know, and you know, we're gonna keep it moving.
Appreciate you, bro. Well, that's gonna do it, man. Y'all like, share, subscribe, comment on the page or whatever. Yeah, shout out to Pro Pels. Y'all support them too. Make sure y'all tap into everything they do. David Grubb puts out his shows. Lito and Chris do their shows. Obviously, y'all know they go live all the time and everything. Chaz been doing his thing too. Shout out to all y'all, man. I appreciate y'all for all the love, bro. And that's it for us, man. We out.